There's a lot more to ReZero than I expected. My first impressions going into the series, I thought it was a story about a boy who really wasn't good at nothing and he blindly fell in love with a girl and he was just chasing her the whole time. Boy, was I wrong about ReZero. Let me explain. Today, I want to talk about the themes of Subaru as a whole in ReZero. Before we start, if you guys like this type of content and want to see more and want to support me, you guys can leave a like and subscribe. Let's talk about Subaru. I see a lot of criticism for ReZero because of the main character Subaru. People calling him cringe for his actions, and some people even calling him a incel. Not even gonna lie, the first time I watched ReZero, I kind of felt the same way. I had to stop watching halfway through, then I picked it up years later, and boy, was I wrong about Subaru. Let's jump to one of my favorite episodes from Zero from season 1. The episode starts with Subaru trying to save everyone again, but keeps constantly failing. Knowing Subaru, he's gonna keep on trying over and over again, right? Doesn't matter how much trauma that he has to go through, right? No, this time Subaru is different, trying to convince Rem to run away with him as he has finally given up. After all the beatings and all the people that he's seen die repeatedly, people that he loved, his willpower finally gave out. Subaru goes on this whole downward spiral, talking about how he's useless to everyone and no matter what he goes through, bad stuff always happens and he's a burden. And this scene, the way that he talks, it seems like this is something that has been bothering him for a very long time and something that was probably bothering him before he even got to this world, something that happened to him inside of his personal life, and we'll get into that later. This scene really hurt because it felt like I was watching somebody talk about something that they've been holding in for so long. I also feel like we could go back to a situation in our lives where we currently didn't feel like we fit in and we gave it our all, but things just don't work out. Could have been a relationship or a school project. You simply give up and feel out of place and maybe even sometimes worthless. Then Subaru says,
諦めたんだ。
諦めるのは簡単です。でも
諦めるのは簡単。
スバル君、
ふざけるな。諦めるのが簡単なわけねえだろうが。
there's nothing easy about giving up. This part really hit me. I know we could all probably correlate to a time we thought about putting up the towel or giving up. That is the worst feeling because in my mind, the whole time I'm thinking about what went wrong and what I could have done better. There's nothing worse than giving something your all and the universe just smacks you in your face because it just wasn't meant to be, or you just weren't the best at what you wanted to be at. And it's fine. This conversation alone with Subaru and Rem changed my perspective on the show and Subaru as a whole character. We jump to season 2 and immediately from the start, Subaru is in a similar situation from before. He lost Rem, the person he swore to protect and be her hero. He couldn't keep his promise and he has those doubts again lurking in his mind. Even though that he was seeming like he was doing better, those thoughts just don't go away. In real life, you could have a crazy turning point and you feel super positive, but sometimes you will have those thoughts always lurking in the back of your mind, and one bad thing will happen and it could switch up and your whole life goes back to where it was before. But this time, Subaru is different. He has a fire in his eyes and he's determined to bring back Rem so people could remember her again. Subaru has a purpose. I think that's what's different about him. I'm not saying in season 1 he didn't have a purpose because his purpose was to help Amelia, but this time he has somebody who's depending on him. Amelia felt like she was leagues ahead of him and she really didn't need his help, even though she really did. This time I feel like it's different because he knows Rem needs his help. So he has a purpose that he thinks he could really help in. He also has a group of supporting people who will share his burden, like what Amelia told him when he breaks down crying for Rem. Jump into Subaru's flashbacks, we get a lot of insight on his character. Before, I used to always think Subaru first got this self-doubt from when he joins the world. When he gets isekai'd and brought to this world, that's when I thought he first got these doubts because he just felt powerless. All these people with magic, he really didn't have any. All these people with bigger statuses than him, and he was just a regular nobody. So that's when I thought the first doubt started coming. That's simply not true though. Subaru has felt like this since the past before he even came to this world. It all started with Subaru in middle school being basically the best at everything he did. People praising him. He had some big shoes to fill since he was his father's son. So when he stopped being the best at everything and not getting number one, his life changed. Going into a different route where he just wanted to be class clown, just wanted to make people laugh by running away from his problems. It's a thing that people tend to do where something's not working out, they'll just try to change and find a coping mechanism for themselves, even though most of the time they're just hurting themselves at the end of the day and not facing their problems. A perfect example of this is Subaru. While he's a kid, he's telling himself, what's the point of being the fastest? What's the point of having the best grades? Because that's his brain trying to cope with his failures and him not being the best at what he used to be. Then he realizes him being the class clown, he slowly became by himself. Everyone leaving him to the conclusion that he is nothing special in life. Feeling like you are not special at all or not bringing any value into the world is a really terrible feeling. And it hit me because I sadly resonate with this scene. There's been periods in my life where I felt useless or I didn't really bring any value to certain relationships and I just didn't want to be bothered and I wanted to be left alone. Subaru kind of does the same thing. His high school experience wasn't that much better than his middle schools. It got to a point where he was missing one day of school, turning into multiple days, to him not going to school at all. Depression slowly taking over him. Walking around knowing he's a failure to society, he wants his parents to feel the same way. Trying to make his parents tell him that they hate him and think that he's a failure. His parents treated him the same no matter what, showing him love, and that really hit me. Going through life, feeling out of place every day, then having the thought of your own parents thinking that you're a failure, that's a lot. A lot of people will probably cave in. The great thing about Subaru though, even having all these thoughts, he is not particularly good at much, but he is still super optimistic and he never gives up on people and he gives people hope around him. He's really kind to most people that he meets, and that really is what life is about to me. It's just no matter what, you should be giving out positivity, no matter what situation you're in, because you don't know what somebody else is going through. Just because you are going through something negative doesn't mean you have to project and give it to somebody else. Everybody should always try their best to give that positivity out into the world, because there's too much negativity out into the world, and that's what Subaru most of the time does. He always tries to be optimistic and positive, even though most of the time he doesn't bring that much value and he's around people with super high status and they could probably do stuff by themselves, but he still tries his best to help people. What do you guys think Subaru's main purpose is, and what is his biggest theme? Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and peace.